Hey everyone, just thought I'd show you how I'm making my garden totem balls. I've just got these got these online, just 2 polystyrene ball halves, and I've just covered them in an old pair of stockings so the clay doesn't stick to them. And I'm just using these as like a, I can't remember what you call it, but like a kind of like a mold to coil around to kind of make the shape almost a perfect circle. And I do them in 2 halves and then just join them together. I just thought I'd show you how I do that, and yeah, I've got quite a few to make for my totem still, probably at least 5 or 6, so better get started, I guess. Okay, now I'm just rolling out some very rough coils. Like that, making them a little bit thicker than usual because these are going through my raku kiln. So I just want to make sure they're nice and strong. And then to start, I just roll it up into like a little snail. Put that in the middle on top, and then wrap the rest around. And then just kind of smush it down. Doesn't have to be perfect at this stage. You can see my coils are definitely not perfect, but I kind of figure you smooth them down anyway after. There's no point making them beautiful smooth coils. And I just smush that on into place. The banding wheel really helps with this because you can kind of spin it as you bring the coil around. And I usually do a few kind of layers before I smush it all down. You can see as well what I do is I just cut a chunk off the top of my block of clay and then just slice it into these kind of square logs to start off a coil, and then just squeeze it into a bit of a coil shape before you actually start rolling. The good part about using the kind of inside is that you don't have to, traditionally if you were coiling this, you'd be coiling it upside down and you'd have to wait for each section to kind of dry a bit and be stable enough to hold the next section. But because I'm using this, you're working the other way up, and that's what's supporting it. So you can do the whole thing in one go rather than having to do it in stages, which I like as well. join it all together. And then we keep going. I might have noticed my unorthodox coil rolling method with just one hand. You're meant to kind of do it with two and kind of spread it out like this, but I always find it doing that it goes uneven, so I prefer to just do it with one hand that I can watch and then control how hard I'm pressing down to control the thickness. Sometimes it breaks, like I can't make super long coils, but you can get pretty good. You can see that one broke, but I find it works really well. It's much quicker, but I'm less of a perfectionist with my coils, so maybe that's why it works well for me. You can see you can still get a pretty long coil with it doing it that way. It's obviously easier the thicker you leave the coil, it won't break apart. Now, almost to the bottom, but I've got almost to the bottom in some parts over here, but I've got a few spaces down here, so I'm just going to do some little coils just to fill in these sort of gaps before I smooth it all down. Good, now just smooth all that in, smush it into each other. Doesn't matter that it's not exactly at the bottom, because I'll show you my next step, which is kind of to give it a good whacking with a paddle, and that kind of pushes the clay down anyway. There we go. You can see it's pretty rough on the edges there. I'll just clean my hands a bit. Now, what I like to do is take my, I don't know what you call this, a wooden spatula, I guess. But it's kind of like a wooden spoon, but I particularly like this one because it's got a slight curve in it. So it's perfect for curved surfaces rather than like a flat wooden paddle. And then I just literally just whack it all over until it kind of looks like a nice shape, and then we'll let it dry and do the other one. So I'll show you that now. My clay is a little bit wet and this is getting a little bit sticky, but it should be fine. I usually give it another whack once it's drier as well. So this just kind of does the main shape, and then you can come back in and make it more smooth later. Okay. That is looking pretty good. Just make sure the bottom's smushed down as far as it needs to be. And then I will set this aside to dry kind of before leather hard. So it's strong enough to lift off the mold without it collapsing, but you want to make sure it's not too dry so that it's still easy enough to join to the other half. Oh, hello Dusty, come to see what we're doing. Cool. So I'll pop this one aside and start on the next one, but I'll do that one double time for you. It's exactly the same process, and then I'll come back once they're dried and show you how I turn them together. Alright, and I've had this drying out a little bit, and I just put it under plastic because it's been a few days, so I didn't want it to dry out too much. Yeah, it's the perfect amount. It's kind of like just before leather hard, I would say. And now I just sort of carefully pull out the mold. And it helps to pull away the edges a bit. There we go. And you can see exactly where the coils were in there, but it's perfect hardness level. And I like to just flatten the bottom a little bit so that it sits nicely on top of each other. So that's one half. Oops. Oh, almost lost it. Here's the other half. Perfect, same consistency, which is good. There we go. Now I will join them together. So I'm just scoring both of them. Get my slip. Probably need to make some more slips soon. I'm putting a good amount on this because it's not the best, most even join, but I'll fill it with a coil as well, just to make sure it holds. Fill in the gaps. Okay. And just flip this. I try and kind of align where there's some low and top bits. It's not perfect, but it'll do. Squish these down. Now you can see if I hold this up, it's not quite perfect join because they weren't exactly perfectly smooth on the bottom, but I'll just roll out a coil and fill this, give it a bit of extra strength as well. Okay, and just smush it around the join. I'll go back and tidy this up after. Okay, now you can see it looks like this, and then I just kind of go around and smoosh this in and kind of smooth it out. detail that was added later, something like that. So I'll go do that now. Okay, now it's not, you can see it's a bit rough around there, but I just take my rib that's a bit softer and you can kind of hold it into a curve. That sort of like smooths that down. Sort of plug any little dents that you have with your excess. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then take my trusty spoon again and give it another whack. Okay, now I'm just going to let that dry out, and I've actually got another one I prepared earlier I'm going to bring over and show you how I do the holes, and I'm going to do some carving on that one too if it's ready. So I'll just get that. Is the perfect consistency now. So you can see it's kind of quite solid now. I'm just going to give this one another whack because I didn't do that when I joined it. And I like to do this before I put the holes in because the air inside of it kind of pushes it back out, so you can't push it in as far, so it kind of keeps its shape better. Now, is my hole cutter. Okay, so I'm using this tool just to cut the hole in the top and the bottom. You can of course just cut it out with like a scalpel, and I actually like to take a skewer, stab it through the middle all the way down to the bottom, just so I can easily see where they line up on the other side, because I'm not very good at picking these center. Out there, and then I actually normally do this upside down so that the clay doesn't fall back in. So we'll see how I go with this. Yes, I'm going to turn it upside down. I actually normally have another pair of hands to do this, so we'll see. Hopefully I don't drop it. There we go. Just like that. Now make sure if you are doing this that you've accounted for the shrinkage of the clay. I've got like a quite thin metal rod that's kind of going through these. And I'm pretty sure this is the size that I used, but just make sure you've accounted for shrinkage so it actually fits on your stick. And then we do the same thing on the bottom. There we go. Looks pretty good to me. And then I'm going to use my trusty, my favourite carving tool, this Mud Tools carving tool. I think I'll use the bigger side just to carve some bits around the edge. And what I'm going to do with this one is use the copper penny raku glaze in the carved part, and then the rest of it will be black, so it'll have kind of like, I don't have one handy, but there's a couple of vases I've made in the raku kiln that look like that. You can check them out on my shorts if you want to have a look at them. Now I'm going to get a couple of cloths just to lay this on so I don't break it. So now I can put it on its side without it rolling away as much. And I'm actually going to grab my scrap jar because I'll reclaim all these bits that come off in here. I'm ready to make some more clay with them. So that's kind of how it's coming out. You just have to make sure that you're not going in too deep, depending on how thick your clay is. And I'm just going to be extra cautious where that join is because I don't really know how deep that is. But I'll just keep going around like that, but I'll speed this bit up for you. I think that's pretty good. Just trying to decide whether I want to do another row down here, but I think I'll leave it so it shows the black of the raku off a little bit more. I'll leave this one, set this aside to dry, pop it in for bisque firing. Okay, so I just pulled these finished ones off my hole in the garden to show you what it looks like. So this one was the oil slick colour, I place, I think. So you can see it works quite well. This is my spot on the bottom where it sat on the kiln shelf so it didn't stick. But yeah, came out good. And then I got this one as well, which I've carved out in that same texture but all over. Again, space on the bottom. So yeah, I'm going to keep making these, and then keep an eye out. I'll pop up a short once I've actually finished my totem pole in the garden so you can see it finished. But I've got probably 5 more to make before it's ready, but when it is, I'll share it with you. So make sure you subscribe if you want to see that. Alright, thanks for watching.